The first hour of Raw was an absolute waste of everybody's time. But did it stay that way? Let's discuss it on the Monday Night Raw review. So Raw emanates this week from Las Vegas, Nevada, and they bored the shit out of these people for the first hour. Probably the first hour and a half. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because, quite frankly, it'll put you to sleep. Show starts off with Stephanie McMahon, basically comes in the ring, states that Foley's been given the week off because of how he was with Samoa Joe. He obviously was overworked and tired. This was lame. And you could tell where it's going. You could tell that Foley's not going to be the general manager much longer. Again, as we discussed on Week in Review, he needs hip surgery. He's needed for a while, and now that he finally has insurance and he can get it, this is just a way to write him off television. So you could see it coming. It's just a matter of when they're going to pull the trigger on it. Roman Reigns comes out very quickly. Basically, after she talks about Foley, he comes out. Crowd boos him, of course. They boo him everywhere, even in Vegas. There was something interesting, though. They had these there was a couple of them, wasn't a ton, but there was these Roman suck signs, and they were very similar to how the Cesaro section signs were. What's interesting about this is, if you remember, there was a report that came out years ago that WWE started producing anti-Cena shirts. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE is going to try to make $1 off of the Roman hate and start producing hateful Roman shirts. Don't put it past them, and don't be shocked if you start seeing them soon. So as I mentioned, Roman came out, and Roman basically demands Braun Strowman. Steph kind of plays up to the crowd, says it's up to the universe. They start chanting yes, that they want it. Steph basically says, I don't care about you. I don't care about them, etc., etc. Roman doesn't care, he says, what anybody else thinks, especially Steph. She then announces Mark Henry versus Strowman. Good God. Then the club comes out, and they basically threaten Roman, saying you can't always get what you want, and that she said no, and they challenge Reigns to a 2-on-1 match. Fantastic. So it appears, if you follow Roman Reigns, that the club's about to get buried again by Roman Reigns. So basically, this match starts right after. They go to commercial break, they come back, the match is starting. Reigns was getting beat up for a little bit. A very little bit, but the comeback happens quick. Superman punch to Anderson. Gallows jumps in. They start double teaming him. The ref tries to break it up. They won't stop, so it's a DQ. After about another 5 to 10 seconds of beating, Roman Reigns quickly clears him out, basically showing that the tag team champions can't mess with Roman Reigns. Again, you wonder why people hate Roman Reigns. I don't know when this is going to stop. I don't know if it's going to stop, to be honest with you. You would think by now there'd be this kind of sense that perhaps, maybe this is not the right way to book him. However, as we mentioned at the beginning, that whole marketing aspect of the hate Cena got and making money off it through merchandise, I'm telling you, I go back to that and I really think that's what they're going to do here. I'm just waiting until after Mania. After WrestleMania, if you start seeing Roman suck shirts or, Roman wins, we riot type shirts, just remember where you heard it. So the New Day comes up next. In the crowd, this is funny, and it's not really wrestling related. There's been this streak of shows, and I don't know how far it goes back, but there's always a sign, and they put it up, of a Warriors blew a 3-1 lead. I find this hilarious. Never forget. Anyway, Bo Dallas is in the ring, got the jobber entrance. Who cares? Honestly, who cares? They crack a social outcast joke at him. They talk about blueprints for an ice cream machine. Just give me a break with the show so far. I mean, you can see why I opened the show the way I did. Seriously. Bo rips up the blueprints. About 3 minutes, Kofi wins, and they pour cereal down his throat. This is your first 2 segments of this show. What the fuck? I don't know what else to say. Gallagher and Neville, they have a quick segment backstage. Summing it up, basically Gallagher just says that he believes the people hate him because he's a jerk or a palick. I'm just going to call it a jerk. And from there, they just go into the entrances for Noam Dar and Jack Gallagher. Noam Dar is already in the ring. Jack comes out. They do a quick replay of Gallagher winning that Fatal 5-Way on 205 Live to be a #1 contender. Aries on commentary, I just got to say this, continues to be fantastic. It's one of the best parts of Raw when he's there. It's a quick back and forth match that the crowd honestly could care less about. It gets a little over 3 minutes. Gallagher wins. That's the end of that. Samoa Joe shows up with Triple H in an SUV limo. A little interesting. And then they do the little vignette. Emelina's going to debut next. It's finally going to happen. The 17-week troll is finally going to end. No, it's not. So she shows up. And she says, I'm here now, and now you'll see the makeover of Emelina to Emma, and walks to the back. That's it. That's all they did. If it means she's going to go back to being evil Emelina, I'm all for it. I think that's where she should have stayed, and that's where she's did her best work. But are they now going to hold her off until after WrestleMania? Because I don't see a way for her to interject herself and be a major part of the storylines going forward. By the way, want to also mention Nia Jax wasn't on this show. She's been featured for weeks and now not even on the show. Again, what the fuck with this first hour? Now the first hour is going to finish up with Braun Strowman versus Mark Henry. Again, what the fuck? Anyway, going through some things in the match that kind of looked impressive. Strowman did do a drop kick. It was up around Mark Henry's chest. That's an accomplishment. That definitely looks good. And he did the power slam. Again, impressive for a big guy like that. Strowman wins. Roman obviously is going to come out here. Strowman knocks him off the apron, but Roman gets back in the ring. He delivers 2 Superman punches to him. Strowman goes to one knee. Roman goes for the spear, but he gets up. And Strowman power slams Roman Reigns to leave him laying. Big guy looking strong. You already know they're going to this with Fastlane when Roman's going to go over. They've got to set up that Roman Taker feud. Roman's got to look strong, but they don't want to completely decimate what they've done with Strowman. So decent here, at least what they did with Strowman and Roman. But now we're finally out of that first hour. Finally. And we get to something that at least is interesting, the Samoa Joe Michael Cole interview. Now before they actually air the interview, Triple H walks up to Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho and says that he wants to talk with Kevin Owens. Chris goes to go with Kevin, but Triple H kind of says, I only want to meet with Kevin. So that was a little interesting and was a foreshadowing for what was going to happen later. So the Samoa Joe Michael Cole interview was the first thing on this show that was good to me. He admits that what he did to Rollins was dishonorable, but honestly doesn't care. He only cares about what Triple H thinks because he's the one that gave him a chance. Again, reiterating why he's even there. Joe in this thing coming off like a true badass, talking about his 18 years of laying waste to people all over the world. He says that they were scared to hire him. That's why he wasn't there for 18 years, which again comes off really well, comes off as intimidating. Says that Seth was the crowning jewel, but couldn't last 2 minutes with him. Like it again. Joe also says that he kept Seth out of WrestleMania. The fact that they're putting this in storyline again, it's not 100% that Seth is out. I'm honestly thinking that Seth is going to be there, but keeping it in people's minds, keep Seth around, but not mentioning the injury as terms of an update is smart. So then Michael Cole continues to ask Triple H questions, and Joe just says flat out, is this interview about me or about Triple H because it's getting annoying? Love that as well. Joe's about himself. Says he doesn't need Triple H because he can get the job done. Triple H can rely on him. He doesn't need to be propped up. And then he also says he's not another Sami Zayn who's just happy to be on Raw. That was also foreshadowing for what was going to happen later. And I wouldn't mind seeing a little quick Samoa Joe Sami Zayn feud. I honestly wouldn't mind this either. If Samoa Joe started going after some of the NXT guys on Raw that maybe are on the mid-card or lower, like a Sami Zayn, maybe even a quick squash of a Bo Dallas or something, maybe Triple H sees his guys coming up and not producing, and he's mad at them for doing that, so he sends Joe to destroy them. I could see something like that. I'd be interested in seeing it. To be honest, I think it would come off very interesting. So next, it's going to be Sami Zayn versus Rusev. It's a solid match. It really is. But again, with nothing on the line or no reasoning behind it, it's really just a match. Rusev dominates about 2/3 of this match. Zayn does the typical babyface comeback. Rusev did show off more of his athleticism that you know he has, high drop kicks, things of that sort. Rusev then runs face first into the post, of course, with the broken nose and the mask. He's disoriented. He comes back into the ring. Boom. Haluva kick by Sami Zayn. Sami gets the win. Crowd was dead for most of it, to be honest. They're really dead for most of the show so far, which I can't blame them. So Zayn gets to the top of the apron and they do a little interview with him. Zayn responds to Joe by saying he doesn't sell out like Joe. Then Joe attacks him from the side. Just obliterates him. As he's beating him, he says, "Say my name." Honestly, I love that. Joe coming off like the ultimate badass, beating somebody down, as the King used to say. There's nothing worse than getting beat down and your opponent talking trash to you while he does it. Absolutely fantastic. And then he gets him in the Kojina clutch. And as he's putting him to sleep, he gets up and he goes, "When you say my name, put some respect on it." Again, that's just something to get into. It just brings out that machismo in you, and you just want to see more of it. That 20 minutes made up for most of the first hour in terms of how boring and shit it was. The two segments involving Joe and Zayn made up for most of it. They announced that Teddy Long now is going to go into the Hall of Fame. I don't think a lot of people remember how good of a tag team manager he was, what he did with the Soul Brothers back in the NWA. He's kind of known as being the goofy GM who books tag matches and ridiculous matches, but he does deserve it. He really deserves it for his work as a manager. What we as the fans don't deserve is how they book the cruiserweights. Tozawa and Daivari are the next match, and Brian Kendrick's on commentary. He mentions how Tozawa reminds him of him because he takes it seriously, and that he's sure a guy's in the back playing video games, TJ Perkins, and how two guys are on their phone. Kendrick says he's looking to be the mentor, says, "No, I misspoke, I am." The match means nothing, and the commentary is treating it more like comedy. I mean, Aries is out there. He's funny. He gets a laugh at it, but they could have treated this match a little more seriously. Again, something that goes 3, maybe 4 minutes. Tozawa wins. I want you to remember this. On that show, with Peter Rosenberg on the network, JBL mentioned that the cruiserweights get an hour. They've got about 8 minutes on this show, so again, JBL, your time, a little off, buddy. Just a little off. But now, we're going into the Owens and Jericho segment of the night. And this show needed saving because, except for that 20 minutes with Joe and Zayn, this show was hot garbage. Absolute hot garbage. So the Festival of Friendship begins with Jericho having showgirls come out and treating it like a low-budget Vegas strip show. Jericho then comes out, absolutely looking ridiculous. He gets Owens to come out. Owens is looking disgusted, like he doesn't want to be there. The girls go to walk him to the ring. He says, "No, you go." So two of them walk Jericho, and they walk behind him. So Jericho starts showing off artwork that he bought. Oh, my God. I don't know how to... Okay, let me describe this. So the first piece, an Art Guggenheim, or Guggenheimen piece, was basically looking like a gold piece of art where it was like swirling around and it wound up with looking like two heads kissing each other. You can't help but laugh at that. I don't see how you can't. It's hilarious. I can't even lie. The second piece had me laughing for about 5 minutes. I can't lie. I missed a decent amount of the magic person. But the second piece is a play off the creation of Adam. If you know what that piece is, where the guy's kind of standing like the father in the family picture, laying down with the leg up, and it has that girl that's reaching out to Adam. Except this is the creation of Kevin, and Kevin is playing the girl reaching out to Jericho, laying like the Tad and the Universal titles on Kevin. What the fuck? How does somebody think of that? I don't know what to say. I have nothing for you other than just get that image in your head if you didn't see it. So they move on, and like I said, they had the magician come out, play a trick. I'm laughing, so I'm kind of missing it. Kevin says that he recently bought his 9-year-old son a little magician thing for his birthday, and that his 9-year-old son could do the same trick. Jericho then proceeds to put the magician on the list. Jericho then says that he got him one last present, and that he's going to call out Goldberg. And if you're on Twitter, people called this, Gilbert comes out. You all remember Gilbert, the 120-pound guy who came out, and the sparklers got him, and he was moving around. He was scared. Kevin looks extremely unamused, goes out, destroys Gilbert in about 10 seconds. Comes back in the ring and says, "Chris, I thought we were going to call out Goldberg, and we were going to double team him. What's going on?" And then Chris officially goes babyface here, talking about how he's sorry, but he wanted to show him how good of a friend he is and how he treats him like a brother and he loves him. And then Kevin goes, you know what? I'm sorry. I know this wasn't what I expected, but I love you too. I got you a gift. It's not as good as what you've got me. He goes to ringside and he gives Chris a box. And Chris opens the box and he smiles and he goes, it's perfect. It's a new list. And then he picks up the list and he goes, wait, why's my name on it? And then he holds it up and it shows the list of KO. And then he kind of turns it around, sees it, and you can see on his face he knows what's about to come. He turns to Kevin and Kevin fucking obliterates him. Physical, great heel turn. He's kind of a heel, but he's going back to the I don't want to say destroyer because of his Samoa Joe. The prize fighter Kevin Owens comes back. He's just beating Jericho, and he beats him to the outside and eventually gets him and does the apron powerbomb, then throws him back into the ring and throws him into that fake-looking TV, but it sounds good. And the crowd's actually booing Kevin Owens, which finally they figured out how to get Kevin Owens booed. I mean, we all knew this was coming. I don't even want to say foreshadowing it. You've just known this rivalry was going to end with a match. They moved it up before Fastlane. That allows you to consider a couple things. What was the meeting with Triple H about? Does Kevin Owens actually have a chance against Goldberg? Because is Triple H going to help him? Is Samoa Joe going to have play? It at least gives you question, which I can appreciate. Even though I highly doubt Kevin wins, you can at least appreciate this aspect of getting the rivalry started because it allows for the thought of, well, what's going to happen? Why did Triple H meet with him? And Joe's kind of Triple H's henchman. Will Joe help Kevin? Just a few things to consider. We go from that great segment to Enzo and Cesaro, which was built earlier in the night with a little run-in in the back. There were Cesaro and Sheamus and Enzo and Cass were talking trash to each other, bringing up how they got him disqualified and whatnot. This match was quick. It was short. It was really just to continue the tension. Cesaro wins. Makes sense. They're not going to put Enzo over Cesaro. Not much to see here. So now we get to the main event, the women's title match, Bayley versus Charlotte. And in the back of your minds, and especially in the back of my mind, you've got to be thinking, they're not going to do this again. They're not going to have Charlotte lose another Raw title match in the main event and then just to go to a pay-per-view and probably have her win it back. They can't do it. There's no way they can do this, right? So the match starts with Charlotte on offense, but Bayley showing she won't back down. She's acting physical. This match as a whole was great. It really was good. When they put the women in the main event, most times the match is great. It's the decisions that are a little confusing. So Bayley, like I said, is showing her aggressive side with a quick comeback. But the comeback was short-lived as Charlotte takes back control. Charlotte dominated a good portion of the match, but Bayley's comebacks, even if they were brief, they were violent. They were physical. She showed aggressive. She had facial expressions that showed the passion. And this is the woman that needed to be there last week, and not the woman that is counting with the ref, trying to get a count out on Nia Jax. This is the woman Bayley needs to be. This is the woman you can get behind. But I've digressed. So Charlotte injures the neck early in the match, and she's working on it. And she's working on it throughout the match, which is good psychology. I appreciate that. They work their way to the outside, and the big spot of this match, she gets up on top of the barricade, and she does a moonsault onto Bayley, and this thing looks vicious. She looks like she lands on her shoulder. I was concerned for a second that Bayley actually got hurt. She didn't get hurt, though, and they worked their way back into the ring, and the crowd's into this. The crowd's enjoying it. This is booked well. Again, this is a Bayley the crowd wants to see. You can tell by the reaction. So Dana Brooke comes back later in the match, and I know a small part, there's a couple people I know who were thinking that Evil Emma was going to come out here, and that when I saw Dana, I'm thinking, well, this might actually be Evil Emma, not just Dana with Charlotte. It winds up being Dana with just Charlotte. Bayley gets rid of her and puts Charlotte in the figure four, and the crowd's going crazy. They think she's going to win here. Brooke then gets and rakes the eyes, and the ref doesn't see it. Then Charlotte gets to put on her figure eight. Sasha Banks then comes out. She hits Dana Brooke in the back with a crutch, and then gets the rest of that crutch and hits Charlotte with it. Bayley then gets the belly to belly. And I have a long pause here because Bayley wins the women's title. They did it again. They did it again. They did this with Sasha twice. Twice. In the last 7 months. Twice. They had the top woman babyface beat Charlotte for the title in a Raw main event before tonight. So this is 3 times in 7 months that they've done this. Why? Why now? I get that you pop the Vegas crowd, and the Vegas crowd's going to love it, and the immediate reaction's going to be great. But why do it now? Why make the same mistake that, into a lot of people's eyes, killed the Sasha-Charlotte feud and do the same fucking thing to Bayley? Why? You know they're going to have a match at Fastlane now. And you know Charlotte's not going to lose. So are they going to really flip-flop this title back to Charlotte at Fastlane? Give her a 5th title reign with, seriously, in a little over a year, 5 title reigns. Is that really the plan? If that's the plan, I am convinced within 3 years she will break her father's record. She'll break it. She'll be a 17 time women's champion by 2020. I'm happy Bayley won. Don't get you wrong, I enjoyed the moment, but you got to think past the moment. Bayley winning the title is a big deal. Your first time winning that belt when the crowd gets behind you is a big deal. They did it with Sasha too quick, and they just did it with Bayley too quick. Now, not every babyface that's an underdog needs to go to Mania to win. That's not what I'm saying here. But the chase, that longer chase, matters. It builds anticipation. It builds suspense. It builds drama. Bayley's been chasing the belt for a month. Basically a month. So yeah, you're going to get the quick pop, but what did you really accomplish? Did you make Bayley a star by this title win? My answer is no. Bayley's not a star because of this title win, especially now in 3 weeks. I believe it's 3 weeks, maybe 4. When they go to Fastlane, I fully expect Charlotte to win the title back to go into WrestleMania as the champion. I 100% expect this. I just question the logic of why you saw what happened with Sasha and Charlotte and you do the exact same thing. I'm not a guy who usually rants and yells and screams. That's not my style. I like to see the logic in things. I like to look at the potential long-term aspects. And I don't like to shit on things right when they happen. But I did that with Sasha and Charlotte. You do it again, and there's no point but to shit on it. In 2 weeks, this title reign, this title win, will not mean anything. And if they really do take the belt off of Bayley at Fastlane, it means nothing. The second time you win the title is not as important as the first. It never is. It's never as good as your first time. Never. The only time, the second time, is usually better than the first time is when you're having sex. And that's not even a 100% guarantee. But we'll allow it to see where it goes. We'll revisit this in a few weeks after Fastlane. Save this video. If Charlotte wins the belt back, or in a week or two, you're feeling this isn't as important, go back to this video, go to the marker point, save a marker point, go back to it, and see where I said this. I'm not a guy who's trying to push being right. But this, I guarantee you, in 2 weeks, maybe even next week, will not feel important at all. But that's it for me tonight, guys. I appreciate everybody listening in to the Raw review here on Riggs Beast channel. Please leave a like or even a dislike. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter at The Riggs Beast. Leave me a comment on the video down below. Tell me if you liked Raw. Maybe you did. Maybe you loved the Bayley thing. Maybe I'm an asshole. Let me know. Tell me in the comments what you think. But I'm giving this Raw a 4 out of 10, and that's only because of the Festival of Friendship, the Kevin Owens official prize fighter return, Samoa Joe interview, and the Samoa Joe attack on Sami Zayn. That's it. And as always, folks, keep it beast.